I remember when I was little, I got, picked on and made fun of a lot, Shit, a lot of times just beat up for the color of my skin, So it was weird. Just never felt like I belonged anywhere. You know what I mean? Growing up in a mixed household,
Okay.
father being Mexican, my mother being white, she's Irish. Um, I felt like in the, uh, between your peers, it's like you want to have some sort of identity, and be able to find your place,
Mm-hmm.
your people. And I always felt like I was never Mexican enough for the Mexicans.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was never white enough for the whites, and it's like, but when you're younger, that was race was everything to you. It's like you want to align with your people for some odd reason. I don't know why. It's kind of like what I told you is when you get older, you find, some do, that the color of your skin doesn't make who you are. It's more the human being you are and what you do and, what you're about. So.
You think the alignment you want to make when you're younger is because we're told what's cool?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, like idolizing celebrities and music and movies and trends. Yeah, yeah, definitely. But I don't for it making me I guess causing the snapping or having the anger issues. I don't know. Because it's not like I had a horrible life. I've definitely gone through things in my life that um that maybe some haven't, or it's hard to compare, because people go through different things through their life. So it's hard to say whether mine was worse than theirs or better or whatever. But like, to me, if you're just asking me, I don't feel like I had a horrible life. I definitely went through some things that maybe molded me or made me who I was or the way I react to things, for sure. But I don't know. I just think it's something I had to grow out of. And especially being a male, we have that, just that energy, that testosterone, that, that's kind of why, they say put young boys in sports, so they can release that energy, get that out. And my parents did a great job at, putting me in football my whole life. But, when you get older, you get out of high school, you lose that, you just start working, you have kids, you have a family, and then you kind of almost lose purpose and, that sport or that hobby that helps you release that. Because even though you're an older male, it's like you still need to be able to release all that shit you're going through, whether it's fighting with your significant other, or the stress of being a father, or the work related stress, all that. That shit builds, man. And that's why you see a lot of bitter parents. And I can only speak from the male side, so that's why you see a lot of men that are just very irritable and just depressed and upset. And I believe no matter how old you are, you have to find something in life, whatever that may be, to release that. And for me, it's a contact, sport. So that's what's helped me. Some it's fishing.
You said some it's fishing.
Some
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
fishing.
yeah.
Some it's
Yeah.
it may be playing cards and maybe drawing. I don't know.
Yeah.
So it just depends on you. You got to try things, but I don't think you should just be going home and sitting on the couch and watching TV. I just, you know what I mean? Like, you got to do other stuff. But
You have any siblings
yeah, I've got 4 siblings. So
in the same household?
yeah, in the same household.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've got 2 half brothers and a half sister as well. So when I was younger, my father adopted me when I was like 1. And yeah, my real father, he wasn't around for a majority of my life. Ended up coming into my life later on when I was older. But yeah, so I have 2 half brothers and a half sister. Technically, all my siblings are half brothers, but
Technically,
technically,
yeah.
but I grew up with my younger brothers. To me, they're my brothers. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So not only are you mixed, but also
Yeah.
did they ever make you feel like the black sheep within that household?
No, not necessarily. I always felt a little different. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? I had blue eyes, fair skin. My brothers, they're not dark necessarily, but, they're more of, they carried a lot of features from my father and not my father who raised
Yeah,
me.
yeah, yeah.
So personally, yeah, like, I had those moments when I was younger and I'd ask my mom, am I adopted? I don't know why I asked that, but I just kind of always felt like that. It's weird how you kind of feel it inside. And then later on, it did end up becoming true. But yeah, my mother didn't mean to do what she did. I think she tried to do the best she could. And she felt like what she did was the right way to go about it. And, which, I mean, I feel like she did a good job with me. She did the best she could. I don't know if it would have been better for her to tell me when I was younger or not. Could have been a bad thing. You know what I mean? My biological father wasn't the best, person. He's cool now, but, it's, she went about it the way she could, the best she could. So.
Forgive me if I missed this. Was your biological father Latino?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's Mexican as well, but he's more fair skinned like me, has blue eyes. So I think they have a lot of Spanish blood, from their ancestry. So a lot more colored eyes, fair skin. Okay. Yeah.
So your father in your household is,
He's darker,
but
yeah.
he is Latino
Yeah,
too.
he's Mexican as well.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now.
Yeah,
Okay.
my mom got a thing for the Mexicans.
Ain't nothing wrong with that. So how does that look when you were going through the identity? I don't want to call it a crisis. Shall I call
No,
it
it is. It was a crisis.
How does that really look versus just saying I went through it? How did it look to you going through it?
I mean, back then, dude, so high school, middle school, it would have been the early 2000s. The gang stuff was kind of big back then. I don't know how it is nowadays. Shit, I can't even tell how these dudes are in gangs nowadays. But back then, you knew.
A lot of
yeah, Diggies in a white tee with some Chucks on. You already knew. But
y'all wasn't Ben Davis?
I was never that Mexican dude.
Okay.
Nah. I always had Dickies,
Okay.
Cortezes, or mostly Chucks. That's what I always wore. But and a clean white tee on. But yeah. So I went through that identity crisis. I thought being Mexican meant I had to go through that route. You know what I mean? When you're younger, you're naive and you don't know, and you want to be cool and you want to be hard, and I thought that was the way to gain respect is go that route. We lived on the west side for not too long of my life. I think about mid-elementary is when we moved up north. My parents were able to scrape enough money to get us out of there, put us in better schools up north. And but I still dealt with that identity crisis up north. I wanted to be this particular person, especially when you hit middle school. That's kind of when that all starts to come into play. But yeah, I kind of went down that route and just got lost in that, and I thought that would make me it would make me accepted, if I tried hard enough to be that. I went more towards my Mexican side because my mother's side, she unfortunately lost her parents when she was very young. Her mother at 5, and I believe her father at 17. And she only has her sister here. Yeah. Kind of raised herself. So I, was my father's side, it was more, family, I've spent a lot of time with them, and, especially hanging around in some of the areas like where they're from, that's kind of what I gravitated to. So
like the West Bluff area and all that?
Yeah, the Bluffs were down the street from my grandma's house. Yep.
Yeah.
But yeah, she was over there off of the Cesar Chavez and Bellevue. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's kind of where I would, as a child, spend the weekends and stuff down there. And then when I got older, I started meeting people actually up north. Surprising enough, a lot of people want to get their kids up north to better schools. So I'd meet some people and, they end up finding out where they're from and then go hang out with them and their people and their family down there. And yeah.
Did you ever feel accepted?
Man, not really, man. Cause it's funny. like I said earlier, just being on that side, I got made fun of a lot.
Yeah.
Got, fucked with a lot, and, probably why that competitive side I told you, like I have that in me to where if something's not going right, I want to prove. Same thing in martial arts. It's like when I'm getting the shit beat out of me by some dude who's better than me, I want to get better so I can do the same to him. One day. It's the same thing when I was younger. It's like I wanted to prove constantly that, like, you guys are wrong about me. Which, thank God. I mean, I've been in some sticky situations, so and not too many, thank God. But my parents did a very good job at trying to nip that in the butt before it got out of hand.
Yeah.
But there's only so much they can do, man. I was a high school kid, and I'm sure they wrestled with letting me have freedom, but also trying to make sure I didn't fuck my life up, because they for sure seen it, and they tried their hardest to let me have that, be able to express myself. But at the same time, they were trying to make sure, like, hey, dude, like, you keep going down this route, you're gonna end up in jail, or you're gonna end up, dead. So you need to be careful.
Did you suffer from embarrassment issues?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
You think that's what created the snap in you?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I never liked to be vulnerable at all. Yeah, I had to deal with that a lot. And yeah, for sure. I think because I got made fun of a lot growing up. That's probably why. Especially when I went to school in the inner city. I remember when I was little, I got picked on and made fun of a lot. Shit. A lot of times just beat up for the color of my skin. So it was weird growing up. So luckily I didn't have to go through it for too long, but when I got, ended up going up north, that kind of phased away. So
Yeah. And the only reason I ask that, because like when you say what created that super competitiveness in you from losing a lot, from like, or for them telling you what you are and what you're not. So it feels like you may have been embarrassed about a lot of shit, and it make you snap inside of you.
Yeah, and I think when I got older, I think, I don't know, sometimes I think you're born with some stuff, you know what I mean? Or it's passed down.
Like,
from like maybe your short temper may be passed down from a parent. And I don't know if that's proven or not, but sometimes I can feel like that whole the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. Yeah. So, I feel like some things are just kind of you're inherited from your parents, and then you have to try to undo that, Yeah. So and try to find your own way or how to cope with things, because I still deal with a short temper to this day. It's just I have to find I finally have found tools in order to deal with that. Yeah.
So you think that's innate then versus learned from your parents?
I think it can be both, nature, nurture, for sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. When you talk about the sticky situation, can you walk us through some of those? Like the sticky situations you said.
Yeah, just, being caught in, people doing some crazy shit, jacking other dudes, fucking shootings and, or fights and all sorts of shit, man.
So
I've been around a lot of those guys.
For real.
I was not. I thought I was a gangster.
Oh, okay.
I just hung around the dudes that were serious about it.
Yeah.
No, hell no, dude. Like me growing up, man, I tried to be the part. I tried. I tried to be the part. Like play the part.
Play the part. Okay,
yeah, I try to play the part. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, I hung around a lot of questionable people for sure. You know what I mean? But, me, shit, I was scared as hell of my parents, man. Which that's what I'm saying. It's a good thing that they did a lot of things they did, and I'm not saying everything they did was right, but, they tried the best they could of, what they knew. But no, yeah, for sure, man. I was in some stories, man. It's like, and luckily not too much, but it wasn't me. It was always usually the people I was around,
Yeah.
But, you get caught up with those people, you're going to be facing the same shit they are. So,
was a lot of those times you just missed them? Like you just missed being in the car with that person, or you just missed?
Yeah, I have a story of my buddy, one of my best friends, Jamie. He was my best friend growing up in high school. Used to party together a lot. Unfortunately, his father was a alcoholic, and I dealt with that on my father's side. My father does not drink like that, but his father was a raging alcoholic, man. Ended up dying from alcoholism. So I seen that growing up, and and I can see the effects it has on people. They either go one route to where they don't want to drink at all, or they go another route where they just do the same shit their parents did, you know. And he went the same route. His father started drinking a lot, went down a bad path. And I remember the day that he got arrested, I was supposed to be with him. I had just had my daughter at 18, and I remember him calling me. And he was like, hey, man, let's go to this place, you know, and usually we just go get fucked up as normal and, you know, kind of what, you know, 18-year-old, you know, kids in high school do, you know. And I was at high school at that time. I was living in my apartment. And, but I was like, nah, man, I can't, you know, I can't today, you know. And then I end up seeing him on the news. I get a text, hey, Jamie's locked up. And, he was going down Antioch Road like 70 miles an hour on just a regular street. And I think he fell asleep at the wheel and hit somebody and killed him. And it was bad, man. I think how they described it was the impact was so bad that person's heart like ruptured or split or something like that, and it killed him. And I think he was a kid that went to our school, but we were out of school at the time, so I don't know when he graduated. I don't even know much about him.
Right.
But unfortunately, you know, that individual lost their life, you know,
it's
to
a
something
young
to something that could have been completely avoided. But I would have been in the car with them. You know what I mean? I probably would have been dead. It's always the passenger, I feel like, you know, or the other person that wasn't doing anything. And he survived. My buddy did, and ended up doing. I think he got 16 years. I think he did maybe like 14 or something like that. But he was in there for a long time. I used to go visit him and, you know, hear stories, you know, that, you know, shit he had to go through in there. And, you know, it's just sad. And then you're stuck in that, you know, like I care for my friend, but you killed somebody, bro.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But that's what we were talking about earlier, that you see people that take two paths, and if you look at it objectively though, yeah, to their eyes, he is a bad person. I totally agree. If he killed my kid, I'd want him dead, you know? But if you look back through his life, you can see why it led to that. You know, everybody has the decision to change their life, but when you're surrounded by only that, you know, that's all you have for influence, you're bound to make the same mistakes. You know, that's why you see some of these people that get out of that stuff, and they usually thank an uncle or a best friend or somebody. They had another figure in their life that tried to get them out of that. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And
at 18 years of age, though, how are you able to take that in, though, from both angles? And how are you able to communicate with, not asking you how you can communicate with your friend, because that's your friend, but how is communicating with him? Like knowing in your head, you're like, damn, you took another young person's life. But on the other end, I love you. You my brother.
Yeah.
Type deal. How is communication with him? Is it like different for you?
I mean, when I told him that, he understood. I mean, he wasn't the type to be like, nah, fuck you, man. Like, you're my friend. You're supposed to take my side. Nah, he knew. He knew. He was humble about it. You know, he's like, yeah, I know what I did was wrong, and I got to pay the price, you know. And I feel like I've always been a guy that I don't have a filter. I'm not saying I'm like,
Yeah.
maybe when I was younger, I was probably rude, you know what I mean, for sure. But I think I just feel like if somebody needs advice, you know what I mean, you got to tell it to them whether or not they like it or not. I mean, medicine doesn't always taste good, you know, and so that's kind of how I look at things, you know. I appreciate when people do it to me, because I've been called out on a lot of shit on how I am as a person, and it's brought me to tears, you know, but it's helped me grow. It's helped me be a better father, a better partner, a better human being, a better friend, you know, a better person in society. You know, without that, I would still be the same person I was as a kid, or as an 18-year-old kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that when people tell you how you are and it hits you like that, it's because you already knew it kind of too.
Oh yeah.
And you were
Yeah.
like, so when you when you speak about people telling you how you are to bring you to tears, what are some of those things that hit you that you
Uh,
had to realize about yourself?
Parenting was a big one. I think that's the one that hits me the most because I've discussed this on my podcast. I give advice a lot now as a 33-year-old man, and I'm still learning. I don't have everything figured out, but the advice I give is some things that I've learned. But I think that's what means the most to me is being a father, to children, because I had my first kid at 18 years old. So I was a kid raising a kid.
Mm-hmm.
And thank God, that my wife, she's always been just an incredible mother. I don't know, she did not grow up with incredible parents at all. I don't know how she figured it out. That's that 2-lane deal where she just didn't repeat. She went her own direction, and so a lot of me observing her, but then also too, it's like me having to reflect on myself, and podcasting really is what helped me a lot too. You know what I mean? Because I wasn't very open about a lot of the things. We keep a lot of things behind closed doors as people. So when I'm listening to people, when I started listening to podcasts in 2012, these Jordan Peterson type individuals, that will break down you as a person and be very raw and unfiltered, kind of like your guys' podcast I was telling you earlier. You guys are talking about things that normally people would not want to discuss, but they should, because if somebody's listening to it, they may be able to relate, learn, and not do the same thing. Mm-hmm. So that's what I listen to so many hours of podcasting, man. Like, because I work in a job where it's an isolated job. I'm usually by myself. I have, headphones in all day, and I was able to learn and learn and learn. It took a while, but it really helped me be a better father, be a better spouse, and just an individual, a better person, and I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I still make a lot of mistakes, but I'm slowly trying to I'm shooting for growth and to be better, rather than just continue like a lateral movement and just being the same person I was when I was 18.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I remember one of the first things that stood out to me when listening to podcasting, because podcasting has also helped me grow too, as like realizing those things about myself, and just something little as saying like allow your child to express themselves. It shouldn't your child shouldn't be punished by saying that was a lie.
Right.
That's a lie. You didn't say that. Mm-hmm. Just because I was raised that you can't say that. You get slapped in the mouth. But in my head a lot of times, like, nah, you kind of lying though. Mm-hmm. But I can't express that. So something little like that to keep them from expressing anything.
Right.
Because
because they're scared.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where podcasting started to help me and start to realize like I got to change a lot of stuff in order for our relationships to be better.
Right.
Because more importantly than me being right is us growing together and you rocking with me
and be able to communicate.
Yeah, and being effective in communication, not just saying this is this and this and that.
Because, I'm your father, listen.
Yeah,
for sure.
Because I ain't gonna learn nothing that way either. Because like you said, you started at 18. Yeah. You started very young. So you don't know what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't, and even though, I had good parents, I'm not saying they're perfect, that I'm sure if you ask my parents, they would say there's probably some things that they wish they could have changed. I was their first child, technically. And so my mother had me at like, I don't know how old she was, 20 or something like that. She was very young as well. And so she had to learn, you know, and she wasn't going to get everything right with me. And I held that for a long time of like, I wish you would have been like this and this and that. But when you get older, you're like, how are you going to hold that against your parents? You know what I mean? Like they were young too. Like, they made mistakes just like I made mistakes with my child. There's a lot of things I wish I could go back and change how I am now. Like I wish I could have been the person I am now back then. And, but if you hold on to that, I can't remember who said this. It may have been Jordan Peterson. He said, the first thing you need to do is forgive your parents if you want to be able to grow. That's the first thing you got to do. And once you do that, then you can get past that whole that bitterness and that, hate and all that stuff. You know what I mean? Because every person that you talk to, there's probably some people with some great parents, but even if you pull them to the side and you talk to them, there's going to be some things they didn't like about their childhood or the way their parenting was. You know what I mean? And I think you're right. The best thing to do is have that discussion, and that's what I try to do with my child. Because I was the same parent. I grew up with that same mentality, kind of how I grew up with it, is that we're your parents. You don't talk back. You don't go against us. Like we have your best interests. And even though I do understand what they mean by that, there's a way to go about it. But unfortunately, my parents didn't have podcasts and they didn't have YouTube. They didn't have all these tools. There was plenty of books, I'm sure, but let's be honest. Let's be honest. How many, they always say they don't write a book on parenting, but they technically do. It's just, you got to go find it. You got to read it. You got to be able to put in the legwork to get better. And with me, I'm just better at listening to things. I'm more of an audiobook type guy.
Me too.
And honestly, if I wouldn't have found these podcasts that made it fun to listen to and engage and to be able to, we talk about Rogan all the time, like I listen to things that are very boring and bland. We were talking about that earlier as well. And I can listen to them, some things, depending on what they're talking about. But I'm the most engaged and I receive things a lot better when it's a mixture of a real conversation, of funny, real, just a mix of all these emotions. And it sticks better in my mind, just like we can all relate to a conversation we had maybe with somebody at a bar or a party that really impacted you. And it was just a normal conversation. So that's like, those podcasts helped me. And then there's like a spider web effect of all these individuals that I could go and listen to their content and be able to learn from them.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I'm sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead.
It's that's really what helped me a lot and helped me grow as an individual and as a parent as well. Because like I was saying earlier, I was that same dude carrying over, the whole, I don't need to have communication with my kids. They just need to respect me as an adult and as a parent. But man, you got to remember, those little kids are going to get older. Do you really want to keep that same energy and possibly lose their respect when they get older because they feel like, man, I couldn't talk to you for 18 years and now you want to talk to me just because I'm an adult?
Yeah.
So that took me a while to figure that out. And now I'm not saying I'm the best, and I will continue. I know I'm repetitive on that. I just want people to understand that I am not coming at anybody when I give advice as me being some sort of saint. But how I try to be with my children now is more of discussing things with them and explaining to them, hey, I get it. I think you may know this. You may think but I'm trying to give you actual advice to help you to cut corners and create a shortcut for you so you don't have to go through some of the things in life that maybe I had to. I mean, that's the whole point of being a parent, is to create a better life for your children, right? So, I'm trying the best I can, and I think it's hard to judge whether or not, what I'm doing is right until they get old. You know what I mean? And even then, it's a flip of a coin because your kid's going to turn out, you're dealing with also them and their peers, their friend groups, that are playing. I had the same thing, like I had friends, they were molding me in the way that they were. And I would say I was an independent person. Like I thought for myself and stuff like that. But for some reason, I still followed too a lot.
Probably because you thought that was cool. You don't think your parents are like, cool. You love your parents, but like my
daughter,
ain't gonna get me the
my
girls
daughter does not think I'm cool at all. You know what I mean? Like, and I try to be, and actually, I try to create a balance of friendship and parenting. I know they say that can't be done. I think it can. Yeah, I think it can. Is it difficult? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because, your kid doesn't want to really be your friend, especially not my daughter's 14. She's all about herself and her friends right now. But I like to feel that she still takes advice from me. Maybe she don't tell me, but I like to think that she still listens and appreciates. And I know when she gets older, I for sure think that she will, looking back.
I look at it different though. Same way, but I look at it different. Like I think they do want to be our friends. It's just at the time when they wanted to be our friends,
Oh,
we were
yeah.
showing them up.
Yeah.
You see how your kids follow you around all the
Right.
time and always daddy, daddy, daddy.
Right.
Enough of this is like, okay, this person don't want to be my friend.
Right.
So now that's when it ain't that they didn't want to be your friend. Because if you had started from there, they'd have been like, my dad is my best friend. Because I hear a lot of kids say, not kids, but a lot of people when they get to like teenagers and say like, my mom, my dad, my best friend. That's probably because they started early with
Maybe.
that stuff.
Yeah.
A lot of us like is like we straight parent mode. Like, yo, get out of here with that.
Yeah, that's a hard. It's definitely a hard balance, man. Because I find myself a lot being too much of a parent, and I have to try to retract and then be fun and spend time too. That can be another hard thing between work and hobbies and podcasting and trying to better myself as an individual. And chasing more money so I can give them more things. You lose time. And that can definitely be it can be hard to balance to where even sometimes you can be stressed with life and things going on and you don't realize that you're shooing them away, but you are because you're dealing with your own demons and your own issues. And then as soon as you know it, like you said, you shoot them away too much to where now they're like, well, I mean, now you want to spend time, and I hope I haven't done that enough. I feel like me and my daughter, we have a good relationship. Could it always be better? For sure. And that's the path I'm on. And even with her, like I loved your episode with you and your daughter. You guys were very open with one another. And I was like, damn, talking about some shit that I'm sure was uncomfortable, especially releasing to the public. And but I admired it a lot because that was real. That was a real conversation discussing mistakes that you made, possible mistakes that, your daughter made, or, the way she felt about you and the way you felt, having to be her parent. And these are conversations that need to be had. That way other people that are watching this can try to be better, and it's can be ugly, some of these conversations, but that I think that creates humbleness and creates growth.
And it's just a cross some of us have to carry.
Yeah.
And it's not that your daughter don't even want, like you said, like it's not that your daughter or our children don't want to be friends with us or best friends with us no more. You just got to put the work in, just like the other people got to put the work in into becoming their friends.
Right.
Like I tried to do it then. Now you got to, I don't even trust you with this. Now you got to build that trust, just like we are with friends in our life. Yeah. And you talked about like them being older and not wanting to deal with you. And you got to think, when you really think of, because you triggered a thought in my head, when you really think about it, when you become a older person, you become a baby again. Now you need them to be around and take care of you.
Right. Yeah.
But a lot of them do it with a lot of resentment because of how you treated them when they were younger.
Right.
Now you the baby who needs somebody to take care of you.
Yeah. Oh, but then there's also the other side to it. You see these rich kids that are given everything in their life and they just grow up with no respect at all for their parents. They almost look past them as like they take them for granted, and they may be good people, but that's the balance. That's the difficulty of being a parent, is knowing, am I giving too much? Am I giving too little? Just depends. And then just hope of a flip of a coin that, that your kid's going to grow up to be okay.
Yeah. So. They always still want to talk to you though. It's just like you got to do the work.
They do want to talk to you. I think what I'm dealing with right now is I can be a little too harsh with advice.
Okay.
And too lengthy. Yeah, and too direct. And I have an issue with my tone. So I can be I don't see it a lot of the times. I should, because I get called out on it a lot in my home. But I call it passionate. Maybe that's not a good word, but they look at it more as like, damn, like I feel like you're just being too much. And I think it's just because I'm scared. I don't want them. I see these crazy. I mean, the beauty of podcasting is helping me grow, but the other side of podcasting is, damn, you see a lot of shit that goes on in the world, and you're like, bro, a lot of the ugly, a lot of the monsters out there, you know, and that shit scares me, man. I don't want, you know, my daughter's getting older, and there's going to be a time, even now, you know, we're giving her more freedom, and you know, I don't want her to paint the picture of the world being dark and gloom and scary, but it can be. It's a beautiful world, but it can be scary too, depending on who you surround yourself around or some of the situations you put yourself in. And I need you to be prepared. And how I feel like for you to be prepared is I have to be repetitive on some of this stuff, because I know it's not going to stick the first 2-3 times, but I'm hoping over time, when you do get in that situation, you've heard me say this 1,000 times, and you know how to approach this. You know how to handle yourself around this, you know, whether it be men trying to manipulate you, or drugs, or doing something crazy that could hurt you. These are situations you're going to be in that we've all been in. And I need you to be able to know what to do, because if not, you're going to end up a statistic. And that scares the shit out of me, man. Like, I mean, losing a child, I've listened to so many documentaries, so many podcasts of a parent losing a child. And I wonder every day, how the hell do they go on with life, man? Like, and especially me, because I have 2, you know, it's like, I put myself in that situation. If I lost one, I got to be here for the other one. But at the same time, I don't even want to be here because I just lost, you know, if I was in that situation, I lost one already. You know what I mean? Like that, man, life is just weird like that, man. Like it's just, it can be scary, man. And I think that's why I am the way I am with my kids. And I try not to be too much of a helicopter parent as well. Cause, you know, I know they need to have room to grow, and they need to learn. They're going to have to learn, you know, they're going to have to go through some stuff, you know, just like us all. But I just hope I don't want it to be as much, you know, as others.
We got to back up even more, you know, a little more every time.
Yeah.
You know, and I understand why when you say lengthy, you can be a little bit lengthy. It's because you're trying to get it all out before.
Well, I'm a yapper too. I'm a yapper too.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you see my podcast, I go on 3 hours talking. So yeah, I got to watch that as well.
It's hard to retain it. All that information. You giving me a lot at one time.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about this dude, how he just talked to Cindy or whatever, you know, Cindy and my friends' problems and stuff. You giving me all this at one time. I got math homework to do and all this stuff. You want me to be a better student. You want me to do chores. You want me to and hear what you talking about. I don't want to hear what you talking about.
Yeah.
How about we figure out a fun way to do this? Like you give me this information. Because like, when you talk about love languages and stuff, like everybody receives stuff differently.
Right. Yeah.
Like, so you got to learn all these different people's languages. You got to be willing to do that. Because another thing is, they didn't ask to be here. Don't take your shit out on me, bro. Like, don't take the fact that you got to work and you got to worry about what I'm doing and all that out on me, bro.
Yeah.
I didn't ask you to be here.
For sure.
So take the time and try to figure it out with me versus putting your shit on me. If that makes sense.
No, yeah.
Like, take the time and try, like, we try to, like, hammer things on me. It just don't work. It just, now let's just figure out, all right, listen. Sometimes we just got to sit and listen to them talk.
Oh, for sure.
Sit,
yeah. Or find a different way to approach it.
Yeah.
I remember taking my kids through Skid Row when we were in California.
Ooh, yeah.
You know, and I was like, we drove through a little bit of it because my other daughter, I swear to God, every vacation we go on, she gets sick. But she started throwing up in the car.
Just seeing it?
No, but she has this, I don't know if it's motion sickness or something, but she just, for some odd reason, our luck, she gets sick on every vacation we go on. And so we were only down there for a little bit, but sometimes I'm like, man, instead of telling them, let me show you, or hell, when we're down here on the avenue, I'm like, I'm not saying that you are going to do that. Like, if you smoke a little weed, you're going to end up here. But there's a possibility in life that that person right there, that girl that's sitting on the sidewalk right there, half naked and underneath some blankets, that was a kid. That was somebody's kid. And they ended up there, whatever it was. And that's a possibility for all of us. So, you need to, you can see it physically right there instead of me just saying it. Look.
Some of the coolest people you knew in school,
Yeah.
2 years later, 3 years later, 10 years later, you see them and be like,
Yeah. I had the discussion with my daughter. I was like, some of the most popular kids in your school, 10 years out of high school, you're going to see those people and you're going to be like, damn, that's so-and-so. Okay.
yeah,
I thought they were going to be hot shit all through their life, but they don't always work out like that.
man. Yeah.
And then some of the most kids you would have never have, you would have never been friends with in school, or you just they were ghosts to you. And they may be something that you never would have thought later.
Some of the most interesting people in the world now.
Yep.
Some of the most interesting. You want to have a conversation with them, and you're
Yep.
like, yeah, they probably don't fuck with me because how I treated them in school. Or
Oh,
whatever.
yeah.
I've always tried to be a person. I've always been kind of an empathetic person, though.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So I tried not to like make people feel less than or you not cool or whatever. I always tried. So I don't think I'll have that problem. I don't know.
Right.
But I don't think I'll have that problem with people like, bro, don't come talk to me.
Yeah.
You ain't rock with me in school.
Yeah.
Relationship with your wife.
Yeah.
What are some of those ups and downs you had to go through? Well,
Man, I mean, relationships, man.
Yeah.
It can be very difficult, man. I don't know. I don't get in too much on my relationship just because I feel like it involves another person. So I don't like to put out too much because that's their privacy as well.
Understood.
But yeah, man, I mean, we've gone through, same typical fights everybody else goes through, the same issues as being a high school couple growing up together, changing, trying to learn one another every 5 years because you're a different person. Dealing with everything in the book that you could think of, and it's hard it can be difficult, and I try to give the best advice I can on relationships, man, but like I say all the time, I'm no saint. I've made a lot of mistakes. She's made a lot of mistakes, and you just try to learn and, bob and weave and roll with the punches the best you can, and hope in the end it turns out all right, and if not, at least just have that respect for one another. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and just respect each other as human beings, and that's one thing I'm trying to learn, you know what I mean? Because I'm not the greatest husband, I'm not the greatest, I make a lot of mistakes. I get called out on a lot of my shit on how I approach things or how I can be with her. And, you have to listen, and listen to that person and hear them out. And that's probably my biggest advice is communication, man, because that's where I've lacked a lot is listening and trying to understand, which is crazy because I podcast. So I listen to my guests and I hear them. But yet when it comes into implementing that in real world and your situation, I forget, it's crazy. It's like, but I think we do that a lot of the times, like they say, you hurt, oh shit, I'm spitting all over the place. You hurt the people closest to you, you know? And because you feel comfortable around them, you know what I mean? And it's just, I don't know why that is. I don't know why we do that. I don't know why that we just kind of step over the people that we care for the most, maybe because we always think they're going to be there regardless.
The comfortability,
they'll take it.
They'll take it, and it's fucked up.
I think that's wrong for us to do, but shit, I'm guilty of it as well. I find myself, even to this day, I find myself still. Luckily, I'm making less and less mistakes, but I still make mistakes. You know?
All of us.
Mm-hmm.
And when you think about it, all the tools that you giving other people, they're taking it in, but like you said, you not really taking. Because a lot of times I sit here and talk to people, and like something that just come. I believe God like comes through me a lot of the times and talk, and I'll sit there and say something to somebody and be like,
Yeah.
that was for me," and I'll go implement it in my life.
But I think it's okay for you to still say it. Some people would say, why are you preaching, but you're not implementing it into your life? It's like, well, what do you want me to do? You just want me not to talk about it? Because maybe if I do talk about it, the individual who listens may be better at implementing into their life than I am. And at least I helped in some sort of way. And that's the whole point. We're supposed to help our community, not divide us even more, keep shit to ourselves. I used to hate that shit at work. When you'd be 18 years old and you're in a trade and you're trying to learn and come up, but these 50-year-old dudes are trying to create job security for themselves, so they ain't trying to teach you shit because they're worried about them you surpassing them and then them losing a job. That's not cool. We're supposed to help each other and grow and help everyone around us because that's how we're going to be a better community for one another.
Yeah, I'm a message person too. I take the message. I don't care if it makes sense. The message makes sense. I don't care how you are as a person.
But I've thought about that though, because I've been podcasting for a while, and I'm putting myself out there, especially very vulnerable things that I've discussed about myself or about whatever situations I've gone through. And I've asked myself, Gabriel, are you the right person to be talking about this? And I think that's subjective. I think that just depends on however they're going to take it. It's the audience that's going to take it. And honestly, I think it's a good thing that I talk about these things, because I'm hoping somebody comments or messages me or hits me up and it's like, hey man, what you're saying is not right, or what you're saying, you should approach it this way. Because that's how I'm learning. I'm learning by putting myself out there, like even in martial arts. It's probably not the smart of me to post videos of some of the training that I'm doing or sparring or rolling, because a lot of people could look at it and be like, look at this fucking guy. This guy don't even know what the fuck he's doing. But there could be a lot of other people that are looking at it going, let me message this dude. Hey, you should do this, this, and this. That'll help you with whatever, when I'm sparring. Hey man, like why you keep lifting that leg, bro? Like, what are you doing? Why you keep trying to, why are you doing that? That's not how you do that. Oh, okay. And to me, is it a little embarrassing? For sure. I'm sure some of the stuff I post, people are like, God, this guy does not know what he's doing. But to me, I look at it as, that's the only way I'm going to grow. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. Your coach is going to call you out and tell you, hey, man, you ain't doing that right. You need to do it this way. So I throw it out there, to get critiqued by others that know more than me. The same thing with my podcast. I'm hoping, I talk a lot about politics. I'm not saying I know everything, but I know if I throw it out there, somebody smarter than me is going to tell me, hey, nah, it's actually, this is why it is done this way, or this is why we shouldn't do it this way. Yeah.
Are you a person, because I don't know, I get that vibe and I could be wrong, but are you a person, so me, like, I could be like in Walmart or just at work or whatever and just watching people move, and I'm affected by them a little bit. They may not be talking to me or anything, but just I'm wondering that person's story. Like they look stressed out.
Oh, you people watch? Yeah, I do the same thing.
Yeah,
I'll be at a restaurant watching people. It probably looks like I'm checking you out. I'm not. I'm just watching just how you move. Or if I can hear something, I'm just hearing, what the conversation. It's not to judge. I've always been like that. I've always kind of just been aware of my surroundings, and just watch people, either to take in something positive or to look at something negative and go, I don't want to do that. You know what I mean? Like, we've all seen that parent at the store. I've been that parent where you lose your cool and you're kind of yelling at your kid. You know what I mean? And it looks bad when on the outside and you're seeing it and you're going, damn, man, they should chill out. But then you got to be like, well, shit, you've been in that situation before. So either you understand them, you're like, man, they lost their cool. Their kids acting bad. Sometimes it ain't. The kids ain't always right. Sometimes they are being bad. You got to be a parent. But then sometimes you're like, damn, they could have approached it that way. Oh shit, maybe I should have done that when I caught myself in that situation, or with a friend or something. Like if you see two adults, and they're going about a situation and you're like, damn, why are they doing that? You know what I mean? Like they should, completely different. And you're like, well, damn, Gabriel, you've been in that situation too. You handled it the same way. I'm gonna try not to do that next time I'm in that situation.
Yeah. I recently seen this, I think it was like a day ago. This thing on Instagram. Yeah. It's like an AI thing where they got I think Snoop Dogg posted. Yep, it was Tyrese. Tyrese posted it where it's like, got you, then a younger you, and you hugging on the younger you, and you like telling the younger you it's okay or whatever.
Yeah.
If you were doing that, or just, it don't have to be every you before this second was the younger you. So if you could do that, what would you tell the younger you?
Slow down. Stop trying to take on, be in the moment. Stop trying to think so much and take on the future so much. You know what I mean? Like, it's good to aspire for a better future, but sometimes we look too far. We miss all the memories that are present, and I mean, shit, that's one big thing. Communication, man. is a big thing, man. I just wish I would have communicated things a lot better or gone about things a lot better. But I mean, really just to be in the moment. That's what I'm trying to do now, is to be more engaged in the moment. I mean, there's times where I'm doing something, whether it be with family or to be the hobbies that I do or whatever it is. And I'll sit there and I'm almost capturing those moments in my mind. You know what I mean? And appreciating them more
Mm-hmm.
instead of it just being routine or normal or just the same old. Like, man, like one day when you get old, man, you're going to hope you can relive this stuff, and
Yeah.
in order for you to relive it, you can't keep just being in that work, family, like that routine of just like, you're just going. You got to sit there and reflect and soak that in.
Mm-hmm.
I think that'd be the biggest thing for me, man. And shit, man, if I could go back and tell my younger self, man, I know everybody probably gets tired of hearing this, the whole martial arts thing, but I wish I would have got into that when I was younger, man, because I really needed that. There's some people that maybe, don't. I have a feeling more people need it than others or than don't. But like, if I would have gotten into that when I was younger, I think I would have been a way better human being because it's helped me be a better person overall, whether it
Yeah.
be family, professional life. That humbleness you get and that stripping of the ego you get is something that can only be like only something that you could understand if you actually go through it.
Okay.
And by going through it, I don't mean go to one or two classes. I mean, you've spent some years in it and you see not only is it fun when you're able to learn these things, for jiu-jitsu, for instance, but the conversations that happen after we're done rolling with other individuals and you start to see like, I know why y'all are here. Like we're almost kind of like this group of outcasts. You know what I mean? Like a lot of us have gone through some shit, and I see why you're here. You guys are facing demons just like all of us are, and then depending on how much, that's, to the individual, but I know why you're here. This is a tool that is helping you, just like some people work out, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I work out as well. It really, it helps you. It clears your mind, and it just that release factor and that humbleness of like, you ain't shit. You know what I mean? You think you're hot shit, but you're not, and that needs to be stripped away and you need to be able to feel that. And because that can, I mean, if you think you're bigger than what you are, then how you going to grow, man? How you going to get better? You already think you're the shit. You already think you got it all figured out and you don't.
Yeah.
So.
I understand that, but I also think we need to also tell ourselves we are the shit too.
Yeah,
It's a balance, what I'm saying?
right.
Like you
Yeah,
are.
you could be too critical on yourself for sure.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
and there's no growth in that because you always littling yourself
Yeah.
for everybody else to be
Yeah.
okay.
Or
with
you're
it.
not, like I said, living in the moment and
Yeah.
appreciating because you're downing yourself so much.
Mhm.
I deal with that still to this day too.
Yeah.
And I have to, like, even like when we were talking about parenting earlier, I keep, I've always tried, I don't know why I've always felt like such a bad parent, but then it's like, you're really not, Gabriel. Like, you've heard these stories of these horrible parents, man. And like, you ain't nothing like them. So why are you being so critical on yourself? Well, if I'm not critical on myself, I'm not going to get better for both of them. But then if you keep chasing that too much, then you're never going to be able to enjoy these moments with them because you're always going to think you're not enough.
Balance it out.
Yeah, man, it's I don't have the answer on that. I'm trying
tough
still
balance.
to this day, man. I'm trying.
It's a tough balance. So I feel like the person who went through the most, not like the most in life, but the hardest challenge for you a lot of the times as a kid was the racial crisis thing. Identity crisis.
Yeah, and I think just kind of finding out that, the whole deal with, I found out I had a different father and stuff like that. I don't know. That'd be up to my parents to. I don't have the greatest memory, so I don't know why. But some people can think back in high school and just remember everything.
Yeah.
I for some reason
Some people
don't.
try to erase that shit down.
Well, I partied a lot. I did my fair share of drugs and drank enough alcohol. So maybe that kind of lost a lot of memories there. Played a lot of contact sports, had a lot of concussions, so maybe that helped out too. But I don't remember a ton of how I reacted to that. But I know it, even as an older man, it still kind of messes with me just because I feel not only racially felt, because I don't feel like that to this day. I've finally found my identity, and that's just me being a person, a human being.
Yeah.
But I don't feel like I have to try to prove to anybody that I'm a worthy person. That's I just want to be a good person to society and a good person to my family. That's all I care about right
That's
now.
what I was getting to.
Yeah.
What would you tell that younger guy? But
yeah, that's what I would tell him.
You're
enough. You don't have to try to be the cool person. You don't have to try to be the one that everybody likes. Just your people are going to find you, and that's what I've seen. If you just stay genuine to yourself and just be a good person, like, you're going to attract that energy. Yeah.
What's the worst drug you got into?
The worst drug? Probably meth. Yeah. It started out like, smoking weed when you're in high school and shit. And then you get around coke. And then that was a big thing for a while. And then, you progress to meth and everyone's doing ice. And, I've definitely lost some friends to, that stuff to where they're just, you don't even recognize them nowadays, man. And it's sad. Luckily, I didn't go that far. I've never had an addictive personality. I think the only thing that I had a issue cutting out was cigarettes. That was a big one. I smoked for a long time, since I was probably, 13, 14. Yeah. It started out, you'd have a cigarette here and there, and then it turns into you're smoking a pack a day when you get a little older. And then, it was just something that, when, you're stressing, you smoke a cigarette, you're drinking, you smoke a cigarette,
Pack a day is heavy.
Yeah. When I got older, I was definitely doing a pack a day and just.
That's a lot of money. Too.
Yeah. But for the drugs though, I never really got hard. Like, it's not like I was hard on the drugs, like where I had to have them every day. It was more recreationally. When I was at parties, we was doing bumps. That's what we did. Dollar got passed around, you out drinking, kicking it. You staying up till 4 or 5 in the morning, kind of how the Mexican parties are, we got, it's like, it ain't just adults. It's like all the kids are there. They all playing, and all the adults are outside drinking, kicking it, got music playing. So
I went to one of my Mexican friends' parties when I was a kid. That shit lasted forever.
Oh yeah, man. Spent many 5 in the morning type fucking parties. Yeah, I've been there.
So in closing, would you like to leave us marked out with some words?
Yeah. I guess just advice-wise, be humble. You got 2 ears, 1 mouth for a reason. Listen, learn, grow, give yourself credit, let yourself feel. I struggle still to this day. I'm getting better. That's
letting yourself feel?
Yeah, is you gotta, let yourself feel and give yourself, props, like we discussed. But yeah, man, just be open, man. Don't be closed-minded, and listen to hopefully trusted people. Hopefully you got trusted people around you. If the beauty about the internet, man, is there's good people out there putting out good stuff, man. There's always a good and bad to everything. But I've learned a lot from podcasting, man, and it's really helped me grow as a man. It's helped me grow as a person.
Yeah.
So that I would just recommend sit there and try to be a sponge, soak things in and find your path. You got to find your purpose. That's another big one, man. Is that a lot of people are going around in this world with no purpose. You got to find it.
You found yours?
I feel like I'm getting close. I'm a lot better than what I am.
Okay.
But I think my purpose is to be a good father, in life. I think my purpose is to be a good human being. I think that's what I'm chasing, you know, and podcasting, I feel like has given me a lot of purpose. Just being able to meet people, be able to pull people away from their cliques, pull people away from their groups, be able to sit them down and be able to show that we're no different. You know, like we may have some different views on things, but ultimately in life, we want the same things, you know, and we lose that when we get stuck in these groups. You know, that's why I tell people, don't be married to ideas or people. You know, like just because you idolize somebody, you got to point out their wrongs too. You know what I mean? They're not perfect. No human is perfect. And the only way to get better is to be able to have these discussions.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate it.
The goal is to leave a lasting imprint on their minds and their hearts. We pray you've been indelibly marked.